We've had Overwatch 2 in our hands for about 2 weeks now, and I think it's about time to summarize how I feel about the game itself and where it succeeds and where it falls short. I've played about 50 hours of the game since it released, as well as about, oh dear God, 3,200 hours of Overwatch 1, so I feel like I have a pretty solid idea of how the game differs thus far. Been a casual player, a hardcore competitive player, and now a washed up old man of 28 years old. And I've played from Platinum to Top 500, so this is going to be a wide spectrum opinion on the game, and we'll go beyond just the gameplay itself, but we'll focus on the entire ecosystem of Overwatch 2. First off, I want to address the launch of the game. Obviously, it was a rocky start and left a lot of players wondering whether this was going to continue to be the status quo for Overwatch going forward. I mean, this is something we dealt with quite often when it came to Overwatch 1, and if our first impression of this sequel was that everything was going to be the same as Overwatch 1, existing players were already having our hopes drained. For years, we have seen Overwatch 2 as the second chance to make Overwatch an awesome experience for a large base of players, and here we were sitting in a queue all day to get into the game, only to have it crash on us 5 minutes later. For me personally, I felt very sad knowing this could be the final nail in the coffin for Overwatch as a whole. But something amazing happened. Over the next few days, servers started to stabilize and players actually began playing the game. It was almost as if the rocky start hadn't happened at all. It was almost as if people were actually having fun playing the game. As the days went by, I heard many household names describing how the game hasn't changed much and how they were disappointed about what they were given. People flocked to these opinions, lighting up comment sections and Twitter threads hating on the game. But when you looked at the number of active players, the consistent amount of Twitch viewership, the rise in Overwatch content viewed on YouTube, the numbers don't lie. Way more people were playing Overwatch, and more importantly, way more people were actually enjoying Overwatch. And I have to say at this point, I was also enjoying the game much more than I had been in years. Recently, I've only been able to handle playing Overwatch 1 for a couple of hours before getting so fed up with the game that I would literally exit the game and just say, this is just not a good time anymore. Now with Overwatch 2, I find myself playing for 8 hours at a time, actually enjoying the whole experience. Even on days where I lose quite a bit, it doesn't feel like time wasted. I just feel more energized to log back in the next day and win some games. It feels like it did when Overwatch 1 first released. Then it hit me. This feels so much like the Overwatch 1 release because they literally scaled back everything that made the game so terrible over the years. They nerfed or straight up removed almost every CC ability, shield, hack, anti in the game, and now it plays more like a shooter, more like Overwatch 1 was intended to be. I wasn't the only person who saw this change either. Many noticed this scaling back to the original Overwatch and were understandably upset that instead of building a brand new experience, they just rehashed their old game and packaged it up as a new release. And to the Overwatch team, I have to say, this was the most brilliant move ever. Overwatch 1 was one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had, and what we've seen over the years is the more you try to change the way it fundamentally plays, the more you ruin the experience for players. I like to see this as taking a step back so you can realign the game with the direction it was meant to go in the first place. Sometimes you have to admit a long string of mistakes and cut your losses. Overwatch 2 is now less frustrating, more enjoyable, easier to play for long hours. It is a game made for the casual-based first, and a competitive esports second. It sacrifices more nuanced gameplay for a more generally enjoyable gaming experience. Instead of ult economies, cooldowns, team compositions ruling the game, more classic skills like positioning, aim, and team movement are more critical. This makes it easier for newer players to feel like they're getting value and are not as frustrated when they don't get value. Now, this is a hot take for the pre-existing community before Overwatch, but I do want to say, I've always had the opinion that the community is what made Overwatch 1 unbearable, but in reality, Overwatch 1 made the community terrible by only fostering the competitive mindset. Instead of listening to casual players and seeing that new players rarely picked up Overwatch 1, they balanced the game for the Overwatch League with the excuse of making it more of a spectator sport. They listened to pro players, high-ranked players, large audience content creators, but they never seemed to fully commit to making the game more interesting for people that have never played the game before. Imagine loading up Overwatch for the first time and being absolutely shattered by the disgusting amount of CC and canceling abilities, all while shooting shields for a fortnight. Without new players, Overwatch turned into a festering pool of the same sweaty tryhards that just made the game less fun to play and more like genuine work. Honestly, I was part of that problem as well. Everyone just took the game too seriously and called for more balancing or reworks when really what we needed was just a more enjoyable game. So yes, Overwatch 2 is barely different from Overwatch 1 when it released, and it's absolutely beautiful. Now I want to talk about what is actually new, the Battle Pass system. It's something that we've all encountered before and seems to have a lot of players upset. One of the biggest problems with Overwatch 1 was that after the first year, it kind of stopped trying when it came to content releases. Cosmetic releases slowed down, map releases slowed down, hero releases really slowed down, and holiday events grinded to a dead stop. Now, Blizzard obviously was having some internal issues with the harassment lawsuits and the general just shitty things the company was being drugged for. But I think the real reason for the content drought was the fact that the game just wasn't making as much money as they expected it would have at this point. New players weren't picking up the game, so they weren't getting that much from game sales. And I don't know about you, but I never really had to pay for any skins in Overwatch because I just played the game enough. I never really had a reason to spend money on Overwatch except for like the 8 times I changed my battle tag for stupid reasons. Now, the Battle Pass is a way for me to spend money on the game over its life while simultaneously making the Overwatch team promise to deliver content on a consistent basis. For a game like Overwatch, this could give the game breathing room to actually develop some amazing things. Overwatch 2 isn't perfect, however, and one thing that is far from perfect is the new ranking system. The new ranking system looked great at first, but the further I dove into how it functions, the more it just made me clueless to what my rank really meant. Unfortunately, after placing and playing some games, I was a bit disappointed when I went 7-14. That's 7 wins and 14 losses. And I still ranked up. I know your hidden MMR affects things, but it felt wrong to lose that much and still go up in the ranks. It made the effort to win games feel pointless. On the other hand, the game taking into account your personal performance might be what players want going forward. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences with the ranked ladder divisions and how you feel about, if that's the way they're going to go, if you think that's the right direction. On top of that, I noticed that the skill disparities were even greater than they were in Overwatch 1. It was a bit annoying playing with people well below or above your skill level, and in Overwatch 1, they seem to have given greater canyons between these players. As a Master 1 player, I am still getting grouped with Gold and Plat players in one game, and then Grandmaster 1 players in my next. It doesn't make the whole experience feel very consistent, as I have to constantly be shifting my playstyle. But even with the competitive experience being quite messy at the moment, I think the Overwatch team has set groundwork for Overwatch to join the top 5 games this year, and possibly even going forward. I'd love to hear what you think about it so far and whether you agree or disagree with the points I've made. One thing we can all agree on, however, is that we want Overwatch 2 to be the best possible game it can be. So here's to the next chapter of Overwatch, everybody. What an exciting time for the game. If you enjoy hearing me babble about Overwatch, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you can get notified when I put up my next rant. If you see me in game, feel free to say hello. I promise I don't bite. If you want to drop by my stream and say hello there, feel free to. That's twitch.tv/TSG_spooky with an I. Love to say hello to you there. Anyways, keep it spooky, everybody, and have a great day. I'll see you on the next one.